meeting for Monday, August 19th. Jordan, would you start us off with a roll call, please?
Please respond by stating present. Councilmember Ronayne.
Present.
Faubourg.
Present.
Liebelt.
Present.
Ward.
Present.
Johnson.
Present.
Reinbold. Langer.
Present.
Norvstrup.
Present.
Mayor Schoeneman.
Present. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business will be to approve this week's agenda as printed. I'm not aware of any changes, so I would take a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Ronayne. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got the approval of our minutes. We did have an adjustment to correct the payroll, include some of the data that wasn't available at the time of publication. So if someone would make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 5th meeting as well as that amendment for the payroll section.
So Second.
I've got a motion from Councilman Norvstrup and a second from Councilman Ronayne. Anyone have anything on any of these? Jordan, thanks for catching that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Open forum. Had no one to speak when I took a look at that just a moment ago, so we'll move along to our consent calendar, where we've got quite a long list of routine city business items, event permits, some licenses, trail use applications, and a few public hearing dates to be set. Would someone care to make a motion on our consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion from Councilwoman Faubourg and a second from Councilman Ward. Anything from the council on these items? All right.
Travis, may I interrupt for a second? I'm sorry, I wanted to point out to the council, item J on the consent calendar, which is setting a bid date for September 10th for the sale of surplus real property. I don't know if the council recalls, but that was the surplus property that we had, that was part of a drainage lot S. I just wanted to make sure that you folks had an opportunity, had noticed that. And there was a minimum bid amount requested in that of $2,500, and point out to the council that if that's something you want to talk about, maybe you should pull that out and we can discuss it. Otherwise, you just stay in consent calendar.
All right. I do think that that might be worth taking a moment to discuss. Thanks for making note of that. $2,500, how was that amount arranged?
That's an estimate on the part of administration to look at just the time we've spent and will spend in putting together the final documentation. It also includes the cost to survey and replat that we were assuming would be, at least initially in the first phase of this, to put together a conveyance plat would involve needing to get one of the surveyors to do that. So that was our estimate of what we felt the city's cost would be to bring this to sale, and eventually, if the council has a bid or bids in front of it, that it would look to consider as part of that acceptance process.
And Ron, so if I'm understanding correctly, then if a person were to come and make a $2,500 bid, that would be an eligible bid, and it would essentially be giving away the property. No costs.
No, you're right. That would cover the city's costs. If that's all the bids and that was the minimum bid, it would be acceptable for purposes of you folks to consider it and decide whether you're ultimately going to accept the bid itself. It's not setting the price of the property. It's just telling you what a minimum bid has to be.
Okay. Does anyone from the council have any thoughts on that? I mean, presumably the bids will be much higher than that. A bid of $2,501 could still be rejected.
Absolutely.
All right, if no one else has anything on that, thanks for making note of that particular item and for moving forward with that. Appreciate the effort there, Ron. Did we get our motion on our consent calendar? We did. And our second. All right, anyone else have anything for any of these particular items? All right, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We've got two items of old business. The first is our second reading of an ordinance 240801, which supplements the 24 budget for Parks Rec activities. Jordan, passed without reservation 2 weeks ago. Any changes to this ordinance?
Thank you, Mayor. No changes since first reading. Staff recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Northrup. Anyone have any final words before we take a vote on this? Jordan, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norbstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got the item that most of the people in the crowd are here for, I presume. It's the possible second reading and final adoption of an ordinance which amends the bid tax rate from 4 cents to 6 cents per square foot for downtown first floor property. Ron, anything new on this one?
I would like to, no, nothing, we've received no additional comments, but I would like to point out to the council that I sent the information that's in the council packet, the agenda packet, to Stephen the next day. And subsequently, I know that the bid and the Downtown Association entered into a different agreement. You'll see that in the document, there's this general understanding. That was not something I had been part of, but I revised that to call it a memorandum of understanding, so that there's an agreement between bid and the Parks Department. It is not going to be ADA centered, it's going to be bid centered. So I just wanted to point that out to you, but other than that, there's no substantive change in that general understanding between the Parks Department and the bid. And I understand that that was put in front of the Parks Board and that they approved that. And I think the bid has executed as well, so that, I just wanted to make sure the council was aware of that. Other than that, though, no changes. If adopted, this would go into effect September 10th.
Thank you, Ron. And though, just to clarify there, that memorandum then was something that was kind of homework from the discussions that previously occurred. And
Correct.
was what the city's end of things and their agreement with the bid had taken form to be.
That's
So it
absolutely right.
replaces an existing one. A little bit more of the responsibility and cost will fall on the city for some of that upkeep. All right, anything else? Well, we don't have a, I would take
Move
a
to
motion
approve.
if someone was inclined. We've
Second.
got a motion from Councilwoman Langer and a second from Councilwoman Fulberg. Does anyone else have any other discussion on this topic?
Mayor,
Go ahead, David.
I just want to point out in the bid packet that's on the city council website that there are potential projects included, which I think is good, and that kind of addresses some of the concerns we heard 2 weeks ago. And there's a pretty good long list of potential projects, and I think that's good to let people know what you might be working on, and if they have input on that, they can sure let you know. But I think it's good to have that, and there was something else that wasn't included before that I thought was good, but off the top of my head, I can't find it. But I thought that was good to have that additional information to address those concerns that were brought up by a certain individual last week, or 2 weeks ago, sorry.
Thank you, Councilman Northrup. I agree. I think it was a good exercise in diplomacy and agreement, and we're able to compromise with those guys and make everybody a little bit happier than they would have otherwise been. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on the second reading of this ordinance, please?
Councilmember Norbstrup,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Fauberg,
Aye.
Ronayne,
No.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Motion carries. We've got a number of new business items to discuss here tonight. The first one is a public hearing and a possible approval of a special one-day retail on-sale liquor license for the Elks Lodge parking lot party, which will take place on September 7th. Is anyone here to talk about that? Doesn't look as though. Anyone here to speak against it? Also doesn't look like that is the case, so I would take a motion from the council if someone was so inclined.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronan and a second from Councilman Norvstrup. Anything from the council? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got a similar motion. This is a public hearing for a one-day retail on-sale liquor license for the Sertoma Club for the Uncorked event at Storybook Land, which will be held on September 5th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilwoman Langer. Anyone from the council have anything on this? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we've got a public hearing and a possible approval of a retail on-off sale wine and cider license and new retail on-off malt beverage and South Dakota wine license for Cusco. Am I saying that right? Cusco? Like that movie, right? Not the same, but I like that movie. That was a cute one. Doing business as Cusco Peruvian Cuisine, which will be at 26th Avenue Southwest here in Aberdeen. Anyone from the council care to make a motion on this?
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion Fulberg, second Ronan. Anyone have any discussion on the licenses themselves? So, all right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations. Next, we've got a public hearing and possible approval of a proposed resolution, which is numbered 20-40701R, which would vacate particular public right-of-way. Ken, what can you tell us about that vacation of right-of-way?
Thank you, Mayor. The petitioners are submitting this petition to vacate an unused portion of public right-of-way with the intention of combining it with adjacent property to allow for future conveyance and residential development. The property will be consolidated with a future plat and rezoned from agricultural to R2 medium-density residential to facilitate residential construction. On July 16th, the Aberdeen Planning Commission voted unanimously to approve or to recommend approval of this request. Staff recommends approval.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, second from Councilman Northrup. Any questions or comments from anyone on the council as it relates to this item? All right. George, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Ronan,
Abstain.
Fulberg,
Aye.
Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got a possible approval for the following pay requests. We've got 3 of them in total, all to Helms and Associates. First is $1,580 for the friction measuring equipment. Second is $7,242.13. And the invoice for bidding services of $67,62.18. That's for design services. And finally, the invoice 17, which totals $696.70 for the rehab and lighting improvements. Transportation Director Rich Krokel is here to tell us about those 3 payments. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first one, the invoice number 6, for $1,580 is for the Helms and Associates assistance in preparing the paperwork to obtain the friction measuring equipment for the runway. That is under bill funds, 90% federal, 5% city, and 5% state.
Why don't you just walk us through all 3, if you would, please?
Okay, will do. The next one is AIP 52, J Apron Phase 2, and there's 2 invoices associated with that. Invoice number 6 is for design services. That is 100% complete now for $7,242.13. And invoice number 7 is for bidding services. That's 75% complete for $6,762.18. And that is AIP funded at 90%, 5% state, 5% local. And the final one is for AIP 49, runway 1331 rehab and lighting improvements, invoice number 17 in the amount of $696.70. And that is construction admin services for that project, and that is funded by the FAA at 90%, 5% local, 5% state. Airport Board recommends approval.
Move to approve all three pay requests.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Johnson, a second from Councilman Ward. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Krokel as it relates to any of these payments? All right. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote on those payments then, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye, motion does carry. Thank you for joining us, Rich. Next, we've got a possible pay request for mill and overlay improvements in the amount of $57,107.40, which will be paid to Dami. And Stu, what can you tell us about our mill and overlay?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is primarily for work, the milling that was done earlier this year, and a portion of the water main and water services that have been installed on the project. Just a quick update on this project. I reached out to Hugh Dami this afternoon to kind of get an update on their schedule, and they will be finishing up their concrete removals tomorrow. Sudlow, Wright and Sudlow are working on curb and gutter and that stuff, which he anticipates should finish up next week. So he is anticipating that paving operations will start the first week in September. And we have a September 13th completion date on that project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Ronayne and a second from Councilman Johnson. Was a lot of that water work underneath of the city unexpected, or were we anticipating that going into this project?
It was part of the project. I think what was anticipated is the amount of effort it was taking the contractor to get things completed. I don't think that they anticipated it was going to be as difficult as it has turned out to be for them.
Thank you, Stu. Appreciate that update. I've got a motion. I've got a second. Any other questions from the council? Jordan?
Councilmember Ronayne.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Norvstrup.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Motion carries. We got a similar request next is possible approval of a pay request number 2, change order number 2 for the Klein Street Storm Sewer project. The payment request is $716,622.15 to B&B, as well as a change order, which is a negative $495. Stu, what can you tell us about the progress of our Klein Street Storm Sewer project?
Sure. So this project is actually going along at a pretty decent pace. I think we talked about it a little bit last week, and I believe that all of the underground utilities south of 8th Avenue will be completed by the end of the week. They can then start on the grading portion of that part of the project, and they'll move on to the utilities, the storm sewer and water and sewer on the north side between 8th and 9th. So things are actually progressing nicely on that project.
How about an anticipated completion date would you expect, Stu?
I would say we're looking at mid-October.
Thank you. Someone care to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Liebelt and a second from Councilman Ward. Any questions for our Mr. Nelson as it relates to these two payments or the project itself? All right. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote then, please?
Councilmember Norvstrup.
Aye.
Langer.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Liebelt.
Aye.
Foberg.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Mayor Shoneman.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we've got our review and approval of our bills for this week, August 19th. I would take a motion to pay the bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilwoman Langer and a second from Councilman Ward. Jordan, would you give us a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Ronayne,
Abstain.
Councilmember Fauberg,
I except for the Dakota Bank TIF.
Councilmember Liebelt,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Langer,
Aye.
Norvstrup,
I abstain from the payment to Wiley Thunder Road.
Mayor Shonneman.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we've got a city manager's report. Robin, what have you got for us this evening?
Couple items. We had a couple 20-year milestones by a couple firefighters, Blair Smith and Mariah Moget. I believe they were hired the same day, but they started on different shifts, so they actually don't have the same start date. But congratulations to them. That's a really awesome milestone, and I asked them to do another 20 years, and they both respectfully declined. So that's kind of the way it is with firefighters, I guess, though they don't want to stay for 40 years. So we did receive a couple notifications on funding, and one, it appears we're going to get some funding from the Knight Foundation and maybe the Kramer Center and the Aberdeen Foundation for some training. And Aaron, maybe you want to explain kind of what that is. Can you expound?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So it's kind of a long story, and you just threw it at me here, Robin, so I'll have to try and figure out how to make it a tighter story because I could go on for a long time. But basically, there's an opportunity through the Kramer Center for Design and Innovation at Northern to tap into some experts in regional planning and design and urban design and architecture and other fields adjacent, to have them donate their time to help us, our entire community, go through a process of thinking about what we want our town to look like in the future, and creating a vision for the future of Aberdeen. And so Amber and I worked together, Amber Schwab from the city, to put together a pitch to the Knight Foundation to pay for a small group to go to a conference in Toronto, Canada at the end of September, beginning of October, to learn how to think far into the future. And to gain some expertise on leading conversations across the community and ensuring that we include all groups of people into these conversations. So it will be a collaborative facilitation kind of group. No one's creating the vision from this group. It's going to be the community that creates a vision. So the thought process was, instead of hiring an outside entity to come in and do some research and analysis and tell us what we should be, that we should ask our community to do that thought process. And so we have an opportunity with some experts who are tied in, thanks to Jim Kramer, who created the Kramer Center at Northern. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's about $250,000 worth of rare books that he's donated, and it's a room inside of the library, and you can contact Robert Russell, the director of the library, to visit the space. It's pretty incredible what he's put together, but even more so the conversations he's getting started. So his panel of experts will be back in town. He had, I think, you might have seen it in the Aberdeen Insider last year. They had around 20 people, I think, last year here for a meeting over 2 days, and this year it's going to be over 3 days, and there'll be about 20 people again. So I can't name all the people that are coming, but some of them are like Disney Imagineers and people that play big roles. Oh, I know there's a group that studies rural housing from Auburn University that's coming, and they're really excited to meet with Happy, and so there's going to be a lot of creations of conversations they're excited about what we've got going on here. They want to learn from us, and then we can learn from them. It'll be good.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that. I apologize for just dropping it on you, but you did a good job. Thank you. Second thing we got notification last week that we've got some funding for lighting for the Moxon Creek Trail, and that came through the Parks and Rec Department, so that's exciting news. And we will be presenting the WINS project to the South Dakota Ag and Rural Leadership Group next week. There's a couple, actually 3 days of that will be going on. And so Shane Phillips from Webb and Rod Kappas from BDM and I will be presenting just to kind of walk through the process that we're going through and what we're going to try to accomplish with that project. So
Where do you get to go for that?
that's here in town.
Oh, they're coming back?
Mm-hmm.
So Darrell's a good group.
Yeah.
Lots of people with good questions. You better be ready.
We're ready.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Robin. Thanks to Blair and Mariah for your service to the city, and look forward to seeing the progress on that Kramer Center innovation project that ought to be pretty insightful for the future of this community. If no one else has anything, we will take a vote to adjourn this meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Renane, a second from Councilman Johnson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.